Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today I'm going to be walking you through your 2025 Forest River Fr3 30DSF. We are just going to start off at the back of the unit. Right at the back here you do have a little extra storage compartment. Inside there we do include that starter kit. It comes with a 10-foot sewer hose, 15-foot water hose, as well as a 15-amp park adapter, which I'll go over in a minute. And then just some other miscellaneous goodies. We do just store it in this back compartment here. Then right down below, you do got your 2-inch receiver as well as that 7-pin wiring. Just keeping in mind there are some weight restrictions when you're using it. You got about a 5,000 pound weight restriction according to the sticker, with a 500 pound hitch load capacity. So just keep that in mind whenever you are using it. And then coming around to the passenger side of the unit. Sorry, driver's side, not passenger side. You got your gas fill, pretty self-explanatory. And then opening up this compartment here, this is where you're going to get your service port for your generator. You got a start-stop switch right on the generator here. Now you have a start-stop switch inside, so that's going to be the one you're mainly using. This is just here as an extra backup. And then if you open up the service port, pull on it because it is magneted in. You can pull off this panel. So you're going to get access to your oil fill plug. You're going to get access to an air filter. There is an emergency override pull start in case all the batteries were to be completely dead and you couldn't start the unit for whatever reason. They do have a pull start here in case you need to do that. Oil drain plug is going to be down below. Other than that, that's pretty much all you need to worry about inside of here. Like I said, we're going to go over our starting procedure once we get inside. This button is going to work the same way as the one that inside does. And then also, this is where you're going to find your 50 amp supply cord. This is a 50 amp unit. To run both air conditioners at the same time, you are going to have that 50 amp service. So keep that in mind if you're on a 30 amp service, which is what this dog bone adapter currently is. We do include it. It comes with the unit, so it'll take your 50 and bring it down to 30. Manitoba here, a lot of our campsites don't have 50 amp service yet, so that's why we do include it. But whenever you're using it, again, just keep it in mind, you're only going to be able to run one air conditioner at a time. And if you follow that cord back and down, you do have that standard 30 amp plug end, and then you also have that standard household plug end to go to 15 amp service, which is a standard household plug. But again, if you're using that, you're not going to be running any air conditioners off that. Really, you're just going to be using that to run your fridge and turn on your lights. When it comes time to plugging in, you have a couple different options. You can leave this open, which I really don't recommend. And then you got this little floor screw-in piece here. You're just going to unplug this, run this up to the top, and then you can take this round plug, fill it back into the hole. That way you don't have any critters climbing inside of here whenever you're not using it. But whenever you are using it, I do recommend running it through that hole. And then running your plug, plugging it in. I always recommend leaving that plug a little bit off the ground, just so in case the ground was to start getting wet, you're not going to get any short circuiting happening or anything. And that is going to be it inside this compartment here. It's magneted up, and then you can close it off and just get everything plugged in. That way, again, you're not broadcasting to the neighborhood there's a generator under there or anything. And then a little bit further ahead, you get your main water inlet compartment. This one doesn't magnet open, so you kind of have to hold it a little bit while you are standing. You got an exterior shower, hot and cold water, which is nice. You got a little light here in case you were to be dumping at night and needed to see what you're doing. You have your black tank flush, so if you're noticing false monitor panels around the unit or just an odor around the unit, and it's also good just to flush that tank out every few uses. You got the black tank flush here, but reading the caution sticker, it is very important that you do have your sewer hose connected and the black tank valve open. Reason being, if you're pushing pressure inside of the tank and that pressure's got nowhere to go, it could expand that tank to the point of cracking, so keep that in mind whenever you use it. Now you got your fresh tank fill, so that's going to be running straight to your water tank. So that's going to be how you fill up that water tank. That's going to be how you fill up your water tank, and that's what your water pump draws off of. Now, if you're at a site with service, you could just use your city water fill, thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without needing to run your water pump. And then you get to your main sewer hose exit here. You're just taking that cap, twisting it off. Again, you're going to have another one of these little floor screw outs here. So you can unscrew that, take your sewer hose, run it down through there, take this end, run it to the corresponding slots, click, lock it into place, make sure it's sealed all the way around. Then you could run this down into your dump station wherever you were dumping it into, whether it be a porta tote or whatever. And to undo it, it's as simple as that. And then just taking your cap here and putting it back into place and screwing it back in again, because we don't want any critters to get inside here whenever you're not around or using it. And then you do have this second little port here. Now that's just to run a water hose. Now if you were hooked up to sewer already, you could just run the water hose up through the sewer hose hole. That way you don't have two holes open, you only have one, but that's gonna be a personal preference thing. But that is where you get to most of your water stuff in this unit. And this compartment is just gonna be mainly storage. Again, same thing for this compartment. All these compartments do have these little drains here. So in case it were to start getting wet inside here, of course you do have a way to empty that water. You got your bunk ladder secured up here near the top. You're gonna notice way up in the front there, right in the middle, sorry, there's that little strap holding it in, so you would have to get inside there and undo that to bring that ladder down. The next compartment, again, it's just going to be more storage. There is tons of storage throughout this unit. That goes for inside and out. Whenever you're using any of the storage, inside or outside of the unit, just of course being mindful of drains, water lines, and wiring. You don't want to be affecting any of that with your things. Opening up this, guys, is where you get access to your propane. The only thing you're going to have to really worry about, you're going to have the gauge level. Now that also reads inside as well. So this is just in case you're out here and wanted to look quickly, counterclockwise with the valve to open up the flow of propane to the unit. Now, when it would come time to filling, the vehicle does have to be in park with the key out of the ignition, and then this is where you're going to be filling that. But of course, that's the pump attendant's job. It's not going to be yours. And once that's open, whenever you're done using it, just closing it off, because you don't want to be running propane for that reason if you're not using it. Around the front of the unit, you get your bus chassis. Inside here is going to be a key on the keychain. You can open this guy up. It's where you're going to get access to your bus battery, as well as windshield wiper fluid, engine oil, and stuff like that. Then coming around to the passenger side of the unit, I call this the fun side. You got your TV compartment here, which has two standard M keys. So those are going to be the gray keys on your keychain to open this guy up. And that's where you get access to that TV. All the sound is going to come through here. You're just going to have to change to your HDMI setting. This also is going to be the exterior sound system for the unit. Pretty much just like home, not much I need to show you there. It is Bluetooth, so keep that in mind. Closing that down. Open up this. This is where you see you got your two house batteries, as well as your hydraulic system for your jacks. So not much you really need to worry about in there, in case unless you wanted to take the batteries out. Inside here, again, is going to be more storage. It also gives you access to that ladder, and to get access to the middle strap, it is closer if you go through this side here. And in addition to that, up on the wall here, you're going to have a few different things. You're going to have a GFI plug, which is nice and handy to have outside. USB 12-volt plug-in for like a cigarette lighter item. And then again, you're going to have HDMI plug-in to run to that TV, as well as looks to be a USB transfer plug. Inside this compartment here, before we get to that quickly, this is going to be the exhaust for your furnace. Whenever your furnace is running, it's going to be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. If you had your awning out and any sort of chairs or anything in front of it, it could melt it. So again, you just want to make sure if you're running your furnace, just to make sure that's not blocked. Opening up this guy, you're going to see at the big black wall, you take the little tube out. That is where you're going to get access to your water pump, as well as all your bypass valves for your water heater is all in through here. It's going to be too hard to get the camera in there, so this is something we could go over in person when you come to, at the time you come to pick up the unit. Screwing that back into place, closing that off, brings me to your next item, which is your hot water service port. Twisting and opening up that guy. Whenever you first get to your campsite, you're always going to want to hit that pressure relief valve, that shot of water coming out of there, letting you know that the tank is full and safe to fire up. You got an 1.8" drain bolt right down here at the bottom. It's also an anode rod, so it's to help with hard water. So it is going to wear out eventually, so it might be a good idea to pick up an extra one so that once it is completely wore out, you have another one to throw inside there. And then I'm going to go over a reset procedure once we get inside. The button I'm going to refer to is just right here. Also, you can either fire this on electric or propane. Firing it up on propane is the quickest way to get hot water, but of course electricity is going to be the more efficient way to keep water hot. So what I recommend doing is whenever you first get to your campsite, fire it up on gas, let it get hot. Once it kicks out, you can turn off the switch on the inside, come down here, hit this little on switch that you see. Once you turn that on, the element's live. Once you hit the button inside, it's going to fire up on electricity, but just keep in mind, especially if you're firing it up on electricity, even a few seconds with it being on with no water inside the tank could burn out that probe, and we don't want that. So just making sure it is full before you fire it up on electricity or gas, for that matter. That is all you need to worry about inside there. Next, again, we're going to have another storage compartment. Just keeping in mind, you got your storage tray down here at the bottom. Up top, there is space to put things, but just be mindful of what you do put here, because you can't get access to the other side. So during travel, if it were shipped all the way over there, you're not going to be able to grab it because it's closed off, because that's going to be the water side of your compartment. So just try and keep things on this bottom level here, because again, you're not going to want to mess with any of those water lines or anything. And then on this last compartment, it's the big side of the compartment. Tons of storage space. Got that nice rubber liner down at the bottom too, so in case you were putting anything in there, you don't want it scratching up. Then open up this guy. It is a propane quick connect, so this is plumbed right into that tank. So if you had an exterior barbecue you were bringing around, you could get the quick connect line, connect right into that. The way it works is pull back on the collar, like any standard airline, you would insert the quick connect line, lock it into place. Once it was locked into place, opening up the flow of propane, and you'd be able to light up your barbecue at that point. And as an added safety feature, with the valve of propane open, you can't operate the coupler, so you do have to close it off so you can operate that coupler again. If you'd like to get set up with that line, again, just coming into contact with our parts department. They'd be more than happy to help you guys out. Get set up with what you need, because there might be a few adapters depending on your barbecue. And now for the best part, we do get to take a step on inside, opening up that door. Your stairs are automatically going to come folding towards you. It's the first kind of thing I'm going to go over. You don't want this, if you don't want the stairs coming in and out every time you open up that screen door, what you can do is come up on the wall here. You have what's called entrance step switch. Turn that on, and now whether the doors open or close, the stairs stay out. But of course, whenever traveling, you're turning it back off, so that way when you do close the door, the stairs start folding in, so you don't rip them off. Next up, we're on this wall. You got your energy control system. It's pretty much just a monitor panel system, so you can switch between all your amp hours that you're charging at, your watts you have, your amps you have, your voltage that you're at. It's going to tell you what you're charging at. It's things like that. There's also a bunch of different settings you can go and play with, but just I'm going to recommend going over your owner's manual to start going through those settings, just because it gets pretty in depth. But it is currently just set up for basic charging needs. You got a battery heater option, so there is a heater installed on these batteries. Turning that on, it's going to turn on that element, keeping them warm. It's a smart idea to leave it off during summertime. Realistically, you're going to want to use it mainly during fall time, just to keep the battery on the voltage on the battery stable. The battery disconnect switch, with it connected like it is now, the batteries are connected to the unit. If you were to turn that to the disconnect option, you disconnect the batteries from the coach, sorry. And in addition to that, whenever you do have your batteries disconnected, it does disable the rest of the 12-volt system inside here. So let's say you turn your battery disconnect off, you left for a while, and then you want to use the unit again, so you got inside, plugged it in, and you can't fire up any of your lights or anything 12-volt. It's probably the disconnect, so just making sure you reconnect the batteries to the unit. Then you got your awning control switch. Funny thing with this is, because this is an RV, so you can travel with it, whenever the key is in the ignition, it won't allow you to operate this awning. So always making sure you turn the key off on the ignition, so that way you can run this awning in or out. To run it out, you're just holding that out button, making sure you do watch it, making sure it's going out nice and even, not doing anything funky, and of course watching it to make sure you have enough room to put it out, which unfortunately today, just due to space, we aren't able to put this fully out. But at that point there is where I'll be able to show you the couple more features. Now, you'd know the awning's fully extended when you see the little flap hang down in the back of the metal tube. Sometimes that flap can get stuck, so you might just have to retract it a little bit and pull it back out for the flap to hang down. Whenever you have your awning out, always keeping an eye on wind speeds, as it doesn't take much to rip your fabric or bend your arms. None of us want to have to deal with that after, so just keep an eye on wind speeds. If it were to start raining, you can't take any arm, front or rear, pull down at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now if you like that angle better, because it's going to allow for more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arm, just making sure before you bring the awning in, you push both arms back to their natural resting position. That way when you bring it in, you don't run the risk of bending anything. And to bring the awning in, you just go over your button, hit the in button, make sure it's rolling the right way in, and once the arms contact the side of the trailer, the motors will automatically cut out. A little special note with awnings though, let's say you had your awning out, starts raining, it's not that bad, so you leave it out, change the pitch, water's running off, everything's fine, but the storm kicks into like some sort of severe mode, starts downpouring, winds pick up, you want to bring your awning in, that is totally fine. Bring your awning in, but of course, at your next earliest convenience, try and bring that awning back out, so that way you can allow it time to dry, because if you do roll it in while it's wet, you're going to accelerate the growth of mold or mildew inside of there. So now we can take a step on inside. Before, actually, we got our front bunk bed control. Works pretty simple, on-off key switch here. Key, you just leave it here for now. You can attach it to your keychain or leave it in. You don't want to lose it. Hit the lower button, the bunk's going to start making its way down. You're going to know the bed is fully down when you hear the motors wind up like so. And then it would be safe to hook on your ladder, climb in and out as you need, and then to put it back up, it's as simple as holding the raise button. It's going to start raising itself back up. And again, once it's all the way up, you're going to hear the motors wind up again. Always have to leave this up while driving, of course, as well. There's not going to be enough headroom for you inside here with it down. And you heard it wind up, so it's fully in. Now we can take a step on inside the unit. Up front is pretty much your standard Ford chassis. The stereo for the unit is going to run off this guy for inside here. You're just having to hit the key, hit the radio on button. It automatically turns the radio on. Now hopefully there's no sound on because we don't want YouTube demonetizing us. And you could run your full stereo in case you want to run tunes inside. And then of course, whenever you're done, just hitting the off button. This also is a very nice head unit that you have installed here. There's a bunch of different options that you can get set up. I recommend hooking up Bluetooth and all that fun stuff. And then of course, just hitting that button does turn it off. In addition to that, you have a few different light switches, LED lights, which turn on, heated mirrors, which is nice if you're traveling at wintertime, going south or whatever you were doing. You got your shade for the front too, that's on an electric switch, and then the side ones, including all the blinds in the unit, do work the same way. You pull down, they sit where you leave them, and then one quick pull will allow them to retract back up, and then of course the front, you hit up, it's going to start making its way up. You got the living room speaker switch, so let's say you're driving but you don't want the living room ones on, you leave the switch off, but if you want the living rooms on, you just have to turn them on, and it will turn on those speakers in the main living space there. Bunch of different stuff up front here. You got a little flip down laptop / eating tray, pretty nice. And then far on my left, you got your electronic leveling system. Now, both for the slide out and the leveling system, the key has to be on and at least into the accessory position, and the parking brake does have to be set. Turn your key, hit that. Your stereo is automatically going to fire up as well. Hit that power button. Now, there's a few different modes you can go through. For the most part, you're going to be using the auto level options. Once you hit the auto level button, the unit's going to automatically level itself. I always recommend running out your slide outs first before you automatically level it. That way, once you put your slide outs out, it doesn't throw it off balance at all, because there is going to throw a little bit more weight to either side. And then to retract them, you just have to select through your menu here. Right off the bat, you're going to be sitting at a battery voltage. It says levels. It's going to tell you the current status, so jack's up because we aren't level. Slip down here, you can go into auto retract, hit enter, and it's going to automatically retract all those jacks if you were to have them down already. Then you also have a manual level option, which if you wanted to do that, you could, and automatically level the unit. And that's it for that. And then we can go to the back here, hit your slide out since we already have the key on the ignition. The living room space lights is just on this center push button and is on a dimmer, so you can dim those lights or bring them all the way up wherever you leave it, so that's where it's going to stay. Coming into the back here, you got this back hallway light. It's on its own center switch as well, right here. Then you get your monitor panel system, which we'll go over in a little bit, but we'll go over the slide out first. Push the hold the out button, slide out's going to start making its way out. You'll know that slide out's fully extended when you hear the motors wind up and cut out. And of course, there's a bunch of different things here which will illuminate in case there was an issue on the unit's end. Before you ever run your slide outs in or out though, always being mindful of how much room you have on the outside of the slide out, and then just making sure you're visual and making sure that during travel nothing shifted between the slide out wall and the unit wall itself. You don't want anything getting caught inside of there causing any damage. And then you could do the back one. Works the same way. Now, if you want to be extra cautious to make sure that you're at your full extension, you can stick your hand behind there. You want to be able to make sure you feel that the slide out is seated against the wall, so that way you're sealing out water. Now we're in the main living space here in this slide out. You got two recliner chairs, the controls for which are all on these buttons here. You got an illumination light button, and then there's recline, and they are heated as well. Storage up top, as well as a couple USB plugins and a USB-C. Then you have some more storage down below as well. Now, keeping in mind, you are limited to the number of passengers to the number of seat belts inside of this unit. You got 2 seat belts on those recliners, as well as the 2 seat belts up front. Storage all around, of course. Blinds, again, just sitting where you leave them. One quick pull will allow them to retract back up. Now, let's say you had some extra unexpected guests. This area here does fold out into a bed. You're just going to have to take the feet from underneath the table, set the tabletop on its desired ledge here right down below, and then you can take your back cushion to fill in the center, and you'd have yourself another bed. Again, storage underneath that, and then of course in the living space, you got your TV here. Now behind the TV is a little kind of hidden storage spot. You lift up the TV, gives you access to some more storage. Now, up on the wall, you got this coax outlet for your cable satellite hookup, and in addition to that, you got these 2 black buttons. That turns the antennas on the roof. Now, that's also going to improve radio frequency and cell phone frequency, so we always typically recommend leaving them on whenever you get to your campsite. But if you're not using the unit for a while, making sure you do turn them off, as they do draw battery power. And then again, same thing as the outside. You got a couple pre-hardwired HDMI plug-in as well as a USB in case you want to hook up anything extra to the TV, and you can also get to them pretty easily just from up top here. Click and lock that into place, of course, during travel, because you don't want that flying open or something when you're driving. Sink, hot, cold water, pretty standard. Again, tons of storage, just being mindful of drains and water lines. You got your convection oven up top, which is pretty much just like home. Not much I need to show you there. And then below that, you do have your stove. Now keep it in mind, you got this glass cover here that you have to take off before you use it. It's not hooked up to anything, so of course, just making sure you do set that off somewhere safe. That way it doesn't smash on you. Now you'd have to have the propane on at the front of the unit, and if you've had the propane system off Sometimes it can take a while because it allows air into the system, so you have to purge that air out. The best way to do that is doing that through your stove. The reason I say that is because you are in full control of the gas flow and the igniter system. If you were to go fire up your water heater or your furnace and the system wasn't purged, those only try lighting themselves a couple times, and if they don't sense propane or a flame, they're going to throw a fault code at you after those couple times. If you didn't know what the fault code means, it could throw a little wrench into your weekend, possibly some frustration. We do want to try and keep that to a minimum and keep your good times coming inside here. So that's why, again, just recommend coming to your stove first thing. Whenever you do turn on that gas valve, making sure you do hear that igniter kick in, because if you have the gas valve on and the igniter not going, if you get a buildup of gas, you can have a minor combustion, which could possibly make you lose some eyebrows and eyelashes, which again, we do want to avoid. So always being safe with your propane. So pushing it in, making sure you're hearing the lighting. And again, you're gonna get that flame to come on. It might die a couple times just because again, it's purging. It fired up pretty quickly today, but again, I did have it running earlier, so keep that in mind. Sometimes it can take a few minutes. So just being patient with it and allowing it time to light. You'll see they do all light eventually. And the same thing does go for the oven, and the oven can take exceptionally long to light because the pilot for the gas valve is so small, it only allows such a little amount of propane, so it can take a few minutes. But this oven does work the same way. Turning it over to the pilot option, pushing and holding that knob in, you're gonna see it trying to light. So now you can see what I mean by sometimes it can take a few minutes just to purge all the air out, but you'll see now we got that pilot lit. Now if you're able to let off the button and the pilot holds its own, you can turn it up to your desired temperature and it does fire right on up. You got a little illumination light here, which is going to turn on your oven lights, as well as some knobs, the knob lights on the oven. Nice cool little feature. Then now that does bring us to our fridge. The main power button is right up here. You got to hold it for about 3 to 10 seconds to turn it off or on, plus or minus at any time to change your desired temperature. Of course, with you on this option here, this is going to be controlling the fridge temperature, and if you click this button, you're going to be controlling now the freezer. And then you do have a sleep mode in case you wanted it not to run as much at nighttime. They're on travel locks, so you do have to pull on the handles to open them up, and you always have to close the left side first and then the right side. Then you got your big freezer right down below. This white thing does slide out of the way as well. It's just for some more extra storage down below. Again, tons of storage throughout this unit. And now because we are equipped with propane, you got your LP detector right here near the ground. If this guy does ever start going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit and open up some windows and vents to get some fresh oxygen inside of here. And then once it's off, you can turn the propane back on and start resuming like normal. Now we got our first of 2 thermostats right here. This is going to be the main thermostat. The rear thermostat's going to work the same way as this one, but it's only hooked up to that air conditioner, and all it does is operate the fan and the AC. There's no heat pump installed on the rear AC. It is just on the front AC. So we're going to go over this one here, pushing the mode button once. You're going to first go into the fan setting. Now that's just moving air around with the air conditioner. There's no heating or cooling involved. You can change the speed by pressing the button. You got high and low. Pushing the mode button again will bring you into cool. Now you can push up or down at any time to change your set room temperature. And then whenever you're in the cool setting, you have auto. So whenever the auto is there, it's meaning it's going to be an on-demand system. So the air conditioner will kick in and out as needed, depending on what you have the thermostat set to. If you were to change that to either on high or low, the fan is going to run full time regardless of what you have the room set to. So I always recommend leaving it on that auto. Now, in addition to the cool setting, hitting the mode button one more time, that's going to kill the air conditioner. It's actually going to reverse the cycle of the air conditioner is what it's doing. So instead of blowing out hot air and blowing in cold air, it's actually going to blow in the hot air and blow out the cold air. It's great for those extended camping seasons. In addition to that, you do also have a propane furnace equipped on board, and you can run both of these at the same time. Just by pushing the mode button again, you're going to see the furnace come on. Now the furnace moves all its air through the 4 portals you have throughout the unit. And in addition to that, it does only have 1 fan speed. And whenever you turn the furnace off after running it, it does run for an additional 3 minutes just to allow itself time to cool down. You can run just the furnace if you didn't want to run the heat pump, and then one more time we'll cycle you over back over to off. Now, taking a step here, you're going to notice you got your sliding door for privacy in case you're using the bathroom and had guests over. You just have to pull down on that little latch and it unlocks it. And then you can close it. You can run this either closed or open when you're traveling, just to making sure that you do have it locked into place. That way it's not going to slide around, causing any damage. Back to our monitor panel system. We already went over the slide out operation. Next, you got your monitor panel system up top. Pushing the button will give you the corresponding tank level. The same goes for LPG as well as the battery. And then down below, you got your water heater. So turning that on, depending on what you have the switch set to outside. If it was set to be on propane, hit the button. This fault light's going to come on. The water heater is going to try lighting itself 3 times. If on the 3rd try it doesn't light, this light's going to stay on. In that case, you do just have to turn this off. Go hit that reset button I showed you earlier, and then come try turning it back on, because again, it could just be a purging issue. And then you got your water pump switch. Turning that on does draw out of your fresh tank. And then right down below, you got your Arctic pack heated system. So essentially, it's just heating elements attached to the bottom of your tanks. Once you turn it on, it turns that on, turns the tank warmers on. Now, unfortunately, our Manitoba winters get much too cold for this to be adequate. Realistically, if you're camping anything below -0, you do run the risk of things freezing. In addition to the Arctic pack system, whenever you do run your heat pump, the heat pump is ducted into the underbelly a little bit, so there's a couple spots that it ducts into to try and keep things warm. And then you got your generator switch. So to get your generator to fire up, you do actually have to hold down on it for about 5 seconds, 10 seconds. The generator light's going to start flashing. That's just priming the generator carburetor with fuel. Once you're done holding it for 5 to 10 seconds, hit that start button and it does fire right on up. Now, because this is a gas generator and it is plumbed right into your fuel tank of your bus, the bus has to be over a 1/4 tank for the generator to run. And I always recommend running that generator at least once a month. Leave the unit unplugged, fire up the generator, run your AC or your microwave, something high power drawing, for a few minutes. That's just to cycle fuel through the carburetor so things don't get all gunged up, because once things do get gunged up, it's not going to work for you. And of course, it's always going to be when you need it that you do notice it. So again, I always recommend running that at least once a month. It's also going to help throw in some fuel stabilizer in with each tank every time you fuel up. Now, I know that's not always possible, so again, running it every once in a while is going to help with that. Then you do got your bathroom in here. Now, the bathroom door does also latch from the bedroom, and you can even close this slide out, this little door here, and have a lot of privacy in case you're just using the bathroom and somebody was in the bedroom and into the living space. That's a cool little feature I thought they did include. Obviously, the shower's on this spot here. It's going to be pretty standard. Just noticing you do have this little travel lock. These doors are glass. You're not going to want them to be sliding around freely during travel, so just making sure you do latch them down like so. And then inside the bathroom space, again, it's pretty standard. Toilet, flusher on the right. You got your sink, storage all around, and then you do have your main GFI plug on the wall. You got test on the bottom, reset in the middle. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, I'd always make sure that this isn't tripped, as most of the plugs are ran through this GFI system. Now, last but not least, we are taking a step into the bedroom space. The light switch is going to be on your left. Then you got your thermostat on the wall here, but again, that is just controlling this one air conditioner, and it only cools. There's no heat pump installed. For both air conditioners as well, if you pull on these tabs, this white piece is going to pop right out of the way. The filter is going to come with it. That is an intake filter. It's always a good idea to check it every once in a while because they do get dusty. Just blowing it out with some compressed air helps keep the flow nice and flowing. Inside this cabinet here, you do have a washer dryer combo, so it's a washer and a dryer built into one. This is again something you're going to have to make sure you winterize when it does come time to it. The hoses are just right here for turning the water on and off, and then it works pretty much just like your household washer dryer, and it does drain into the gray tank, so keep that in mind if you're using it and you don't have a plumbing system hooked. You're not at a site with service, so that could fill up your tank pretty quickly if you're running quite a few loads. Then you got your TV here, pretty self-explanatory. Down below you get a nice little window, storage all around. You got your bed, plugins on either side, of course. Then right at the back here, you do have your fire exit for the unit. Pulling on these tabs here, that unlocks the window. You can then push the window and hop on out. Just keep it in mind, it is quite a ways down, so it's going to be a good idea to go feet first, step on that bumper. That way you don't come tumbling out of there. And then just latching it back into place like so. And then last but not least, right here, over here, you got your main fuse and breaker panel. Pushing this guy, opening this up. You got all your breakers. Whenever one trips, it's going to sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. And then you'll have all the corresponding fuses underneath this cover here. Now that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.